the meeting to order and stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
All board members are present, along with the principals, Superintendent Winter, and Stephanie.
Motion for adoption of the agenda.
So move.
Second.
I'll second.
Additions, subtractions, corrections. Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item 5, communications recognition. Open forum.
We had a couple comments. One was the cost of the parking lot. How does it get to be that expensive? Mr. Winter explained we're in the beginning phases. We don't know if it's going to cost that whole amount of money we have available to us. So it's an ongoing process. It was also brought up that we do not have doors for special needs students in the back, automatic doors in the back of the school in doors 21 and 25, which is where the students come in. So Mr. Winter is also going to look into that.
21, 25, which?
Are the doors in back where the vans drop the kids off, special needs, handicapped? Yeah.
Too bad.
And they said like the front door by elementary is just too busy, which is true to try and get them in. So we're just going to check into that. And the question was brought up about vaping detectors. And we found out they're not very, very good.
Is that what we've been getting an email on that from somebody? It's been going into, I thought it was going to everyone. There's a company out of Minneapolis that puts in the detectors. I've been getting the emails. So you guys been getting them?
They don't, yeah.
Well, it looked like
Success
very
rate's not
salesy.
very well, no.
Yeah.
We've talked about that at numerous principal meetings. And schools that have done it, they fixed results.
I actually had a conversation with SRO Brett today a little bit, and he said he's had conversations with a couple of different districts, and some say, yeah, good, and some say, nah, not. So
You got public investment dollars in there for there, so you're good.
I think I want to say installation is probably between 15 and $2,000 per device. That's kind of what I'm hearing. 1,500 to 2,000 per device. So.
And are they visual, like can you tell where the detector is?
I think they find out pretty fast. What I'm hearing too is there's noise detector components with that as well. So not only, I think there are various kinds, but that's one thing that I'm hearing too, is that they'll go off with loud noise. So, okay, once that's figured out, okay.
So you have to put you got to put many in so there's no dead spots.
Then you have the weekends when there's activities such as jail volleyball, things like that. Okay, now we have to turn them off, figure out how to do that because there's just a lot of different things to think through. I'm not saying that
To the restroom and figure out.
I'm not saying that it's not something that we should look at, study a little bit more, but there's just a lot more things to think of than just, oh, let's get these put in.
It's not full.
Correct.
The door stuff is.
Yeah, that,
Is that all?
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Wasn't on my radar.
Yeah. It wasn't brought up before, so it's a good thing it was brought up now.
Would that be long-term maintenance funds?
Health and safety.
Moving on to board committees. PTA.
PTA had their meeting. Their fund balance is very healthy for right now. Of course, they're getting ready for all the class trips and that kind of thing, so they need to have some money in there. They're also talking about maybe raising the amount that they can get for transportation so that the parents don't have to pay any transportation or less if they can make that work. They just got a check for $1,376.29 from Coburn's More Rewards, and that money goes to PTA. They're already planning the fun run, which is going to be, let me see, April 25th. And they will start the collection already at the beginning of April 7th. They will do, as a reward, they're going back to the Ninja course, which the kids love, and they're gonna pair with Albany. So Melrose will do Thursday, May 1st, and then if Albany does Friday the next day, then it costs less money. So that's a good deal. And the big deal with the Ninja thing was getting the permission slips, because they have to have it or they won't let the kids on. And so at parent-teacher conferences, they're already gonna be set up in the elementary, so parents can go online and sign the permission slip so that it's taken care of way ahead of time.
They're contracting with a private company,
Yes,
but they want to move with them.
kids
No,
did
that's
it.
for the reward, the Ninja
The
Day.
fun one.
The fun run, Jan takes care of, right?
Yeah, the fun run they do, but then
But the reward day,
Correct.
last year they had a author it. And this year they're going back to the Ninja, because the kids loved it. And then they are providing a meal for the teachers for parent-teacher conferences on May 12th. They're gonna do a meal at 3:30. I think that was it.
Becky?
Greg's gonna cover that for you.
Yep, it was the first meeting of SAFE, Schools Advocating for Fair Funding. If you recall, it used to be called C, Schools for Equity in Education. They went away from that, rebranded. Brad Lundell, the old executive director, also retired this past year. So now is a good time to kind of rebrand, reorganize. Brad Lundell, who was the executive director, he was the main lobbyist, and at this time, the organization is not going to hire an executive director. The organization itself will be run by the executive committee. And the executive committee, which I was a part of, we've hired two chief lobbyists, Sam Walseth and Nick Zerwis. They're going to be our main lobbyists for Schools Advocating for Fair Funding. That was the main part of it. Those two lobbyists introduced themselves. And then Morris Leatherman gave their annual presentation. If you recall, they did an earlier presentation about a month ago, and I shared that presentation with the board. This one really hadn't changed that much, except for some information that came out in an October survey, and basically just talking about the elections across the board. It's just too close to call. So let's see what happens on election day. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in my report. And then they talked about there being two legislative platforms. Plank number one is make educational related levies more fair and more consistent. Plank number two, improve the stability of school funding to promote greater fairness. Obviously, those planks are based upon the philosophy of the meaning of schools advocating for fair funding. How did they define fair? Well, it's fair for everyone that everybody has the same consistent funding no matter what your zip code is. Because if you remember, part of it, the whole thing with levies is the equity issue, where some districts that are land rich, it's easier for them to pass levies versus districts that are land poor. That's where that equalization formula came into play, and that's the equalization that fizzled out over the last 15 years.
Are they hiring just a private lobbyist firm?
Yeah, these two gentlemen are private lobbyists.
So that's a change of.
Yes, big change. We'll see how it goes.
Wellness?
Yeah, so I had brought up the question of with food, getting to something more like a farm to table, which is something Holdingford does. So asking to look more into what we can explore there, I think that would be a fantastic move. I think your name was, I think when I was talking to Becky about it, is this an area that you were interested in a while ago? Or was it that?
I thought we did when we went to some of the conventions.
Oh, that was a while ago, yeah.
It was a while ago.
You're right, yes, yeah. Because I know like Belgrade even has a class on that.
Yeah.
That the kids, that's how they cook, use that kind of stuff. But yeah, they had a big one. Your Little Falls, maybe? Because I know they have a, yeah,
They have one point Janelle was interested.
oh, yes. Yeah, that's right, I forgot.
I would love to see something like that happen in the school, I really would. And then it was brought up, we need another therapist in school, yeah. So the one we have right now is just back to back booked. Yeah, so we're looking at getting another one.
Opportunity for one.
And so I brought up the idea of if we could also offer something that would be in more of a group setting. So where you would have peer groups. And so you could have, Becky and I were talking about it a little bit, like an empowerment group. So if you need to feel more confident on social media or navigating social media, or you have, maybe things going on at home. So there would be a common core within these groups, but then it wouldn't so much be one-on-one. If you still needed one-on-one, it would be, but there's an importance of having a group setting as well, because then you're not alone, you're not broken, there's other people going through this as well, which is a huge component in healing trauma. So I would really be interested in exploring that and knowing who would I reach out to.
I think it would be something we could probably talk about in the principal meeting first, and talking with the social workers and our current school therapists. The problem that you said right now is our current therapist is back to back to back dealing with individual students. So that might be something we would be able to expand upon as we look forward getting another therapist. So for right now, you and I can stay in communication on that.
Yeah.
I think
it's a good idea.
for now, correct me if I'm wrong, they're busy putting out fires. So
Yeah.
fire prevention builds when we get more staff.
Absolutely.
So therapist, social worker, psychologist?
Well,
Or what
a
is
therapist is one thing
therapist?
and social worker is a different one. They're different.
But they can't overlap or help out, or social workers are also.
There is some gray areas in regards to that, and once again, don't think of this as gospel when I explain this. Social workers were mainly dealing with student issues in the, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And these are social workers that we get through West Central Ed that are paid for through our special ed funds. School therapists actually can do childhood mental health therapy. Those come from Greater Minnesota. We pay the administrative fee on that, and because they're school therapists, they're actually able to bill right through MA. So there are some gray areas there, but there are also some distinct differences as well.
They're also through the co-op.
The social workers are, not the therapists, no. The therapists, we hire them through our funds that are gladly given to us by Becky's committee, the Stearns County Collaborative. That's where the money comes from.
It is where.
She's the chair. So that's where the funding comes to pay the administrative costs. And then once the therapists are actually doing therapy that they can bill towards MA, that's how they make their funds to operate.
So what is the goal timeframe to hire someone
By next year.
by next,
Yeah.
by next year? this
You have
time?
leads on something.
Yep, Steve Mahad, he's the lead executive, Greater Minnesota. He thinks he has found some people that may be available next fall.
So then where would my window of opportunity be with this idea, or to collaborate further on it?
For the remainder of the year, as I talk to Steve Mahad
Okay,
and work towards getting that person in place.
got it.
Unfortunately, nothing's gonna be done till next fall, just depending upon where Greater Minnesota is in their personnel issues.
And it's not worth a discussion right now with the current,
Oh, it could be, but they're so busy, it would be something that I could sit down and, like I said, talk to the principals about, mainly with Ms. Pearson about how busy she is down there, but I just know she's really busy. But you and I can talk, and I can have an initial conversation with the principals.
There'd be some kind of conflict if you have a group setting about personal information.
Well, there would have to be some guidelines set up, obviously, but it's not.
There's quite a bit of group
I was
stuff
gonna
that
say,
already goes on.
Yeah.
They do
With
some
our
group
social
things
workers,
now.
yeah, there's definitely, because some of the social workers within the goals of the student is proper social cues and social awareness and how to be good friends. And they actually will bring a group of students down, and work on that together. And there's quite a bit of group stuff that already goes on.
We'll continue the discussion.
District comment.
Steve and Julie reported that the early Chrome pickup worked really well this year. 50% of the Chromebooks were picked up early, which helped take care of some of the burden at the end of the year or the beginning of the school year when everybody comes in, so they weren't quite as backed up. They had a staff workshop for Canvas, Synergy, a bunch of those things for new staff, and some existing staff who just still every year don't feel real comfortable with it. So they've been setting up these staff workshops. Last year, I think, was the first year, and they'll continue to do it, and then they will do it halfway through the year because the classes change and how do you put all the kids in your classes and whatever. So that works well. They replaced 2 outside cameras and added 4. The antenna are in for the police and fire department. And the radio repeater antenna covers up to ALC, which is the radios in the school, right, Eric?
Yes.
Thank you. And because they have that new repeater antenna, they can buy cheaper radios now, so Eric gets some of those. And,
You say it covers up to the ALC, here to there?
yeah,
So it's like
It
it's
operates
regular
over,
two-way radio
over our
system.
network now.
yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't report radio to radio.
And I think that's all I had, Eric.
That's pretty much it.
Okay. You were there also, Greg? Anything else we missed?
Just looking into, you made a comment about it, they're just continue to study the Chromebooks that we have and look at possible different models for next year if these don't work.
Because the rate of repairs is not so good. A lot of them need repairs. Because the glass on the Chromebooks is not good.
Professional development.
Let me see. The elementary and middle school, high school also met, talked about the paras getting training on the modules for highly qualified, which I've heard has gone really well. It's good. There are some paras that are highly qualified already, wouldn't have to do that, but it's a good refresher, just like teachers take refresher classes. So it's really nice that the paras are getting some online training for pretty much all of the staff development days this year. Preschool is working on letters. They're going to do suicide prevention in March. The one I found really interesting for the elementary is their new math series and how it doesn't really line up with the Minnesota standards and how much time teachers have to spend trying to fill in the gaps because it doesn't align with what our testing is, and yet the kids need to know everything that's going to be tested. But yeah, so it was like, wow. So they were going to spend a lot of time working on that over staff development days. The high school too, they talked about the presenters coming November 27th. They just haven't for sure figured out which topics. There's a couple of them out that they're reaching out to people to see what they want. The paras in 612 are doing a de-escalation workshop. And I think, November 8th, ESL is doing a presentation also. Did I miss anything, Robbie?
Nope.
Okay.
Any questions for any of the board committee reports? Moving on to administrative reports. Rebecca?
Yes. Board members, few things, other than dates, I got a lot of dates down for you regarding just when there's no school coming up, Veterans Day program, parent-teacher conferences, and the end of the quarter is on the 7th already, so first quarter is winding down here pretty quickly. Other than that, I've got a couple of other things. Mr. Swartz's students had a CNC equipment semi that was here through St. Cloud State University, and it was really about STEM technology, science and science tech, mathematics, and it was really neat because the CAD students that are working on their drawings and so on had an opportunity to see really a high-speed piece of machinery where it can literally take a hunk of aluminum and just whittle it down to a really machine part that was just very, very specific. And so they didn't spend a lot of time on it this time around, but my understanding is the semi is going to be back in the spring. I think Mr. Swartz had filled out some paperwork for a grant in order to get it back here. So it was pretty neat. Epic Day was last Friday, careers and interests for juniors, and that was at St. Cloud Tech Community College. Students had the opportunity, they were told to at least check out 3 different areas when they were there. You know, there was anything that St. Cloud Tech has as far as available for programs and so on, offerings. It was just a really good field day for students to be able to go around and check all of these different career opportunities. So I heard really good things about it.
Was that the first time? Jeff,
We
that it was-
went last year or the year before. I know it's not our first time,
Okay.
but thought we liked it the last time, so we went again.
Do they all go 10?
All of the juniors.
Okay.
I think there were probably a handful that didn't go, but we
Okay.
really encouraged them to go, get them to fill out a permission slip. Off they go because they're out of district. And then I just wanted to congratulate, let you guys know that Jake Punsack earned a Minnesota Science Teachers Award for his efforts in science teaching. So congratulations to him.
Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, I'll just do a little follow-up from what Lee was talking about professional development. The Wednesday before MEA, our EL team did some data with the district, and then they shared some stories from our newcomers from last year about the home countries the kids came from in their areas, which were very awesome. So what we did is we got into groups and we researched the countries, and then we read stories from the students. Really neat opportunity for our teachers to connect with where the students were coming from. So, and then the afternoon, we had some awesome time to dive into past MCA data and look at that based on our curriculum. So it was a good day. Middle School Incentive Day is coming up. Typically, we go to the Main Street Theater and Sock for a movie. The Middle School Student Council is sponsoring a costume contest on Thursday, and they're also doing a candy bracket. It's kind of like March Madness, but with candy. And then conferences are coming up. Another thing that I found out today is that Miss Elliott has invited the 7th graders to be a part of the senior matinee for the play. So they will be doing that as well. So, yep.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson.
On in-service day too, like Mr. Anderson said last, in October, it was a very productive day. Like Lee said, the elementary does have new math curriculum. They are having to realign their curriculum maps and putting their curriculum skills, how they teach them in the order that will best fit with that curriculum and the standards and preparing them for MCA. So it does always take a rewriting and reshuffling of curriculum when you get new resources. And so that's what they're working on, and they found it to be a very productive day. The other departments like special ed, ESL, and our specialists, they all worked on curriculum in their areas. I know that technology and art are looking a little bit at curriculum this year and seeing what some of their needs are as they work on curriculum revisions. The parents, like Lee said, had a great day and are working on their paraeducator modules, which is great. The elementary kids definitely are looking forward to Thursday this week. They are going to be wearing kid-friendly costumes if staff can, if they wish to. And we do keep it to a minimum in the afternoon for a little bit of a celebration in the afternoon and make it a fun learning time on that day. November 8th, we will continue working on curriculum, and half that day is also workshop day, meaning teachers will be working on closing the first quarter, it's hard to believe, planning for second quarter, and doing report cards and that type of work in the afternoon. And then the elementary will be having 2 evenings of conferences, as you all know, that we do in the fall, so we'll have Tuesday and Thursday night, and then we'll have all day Friday. And all of our conferences, of course, will be in person unless a parent really requests a phone call because they cannot be in person because of work. But we're looking forward to seeing all of our parents, and all of our conferences will be completely scheduled the latest by November 5th. All of our parents will have a scheduled conference. Any questions?
So with the new math curriculum, it's not that it's not right or not
Oh,
good,
no,
it's
no.
just, okay.
And it's exactly what the teachers, chose. We just haven't had a new one for a long time, and so
Okay.
we definitely need to look at the standards and figure out and reshuffle how the order we want to teach things. Yeah. So.
Those of us that don't really understand curriculum.
And also just learning what the curriculum, the resources has inside of it, because everyone's different. And every once in a while you realize that, I kind of like this piece that we use, can we somehow put that in? We always add the extra additional resources, and so they need to know. But once you bring in something new, you need to weed out other things. You can't just keep layering and layering and layering, so they have to go through that and make those wise decisions about which are the best resources to be using and the best instructional approaches.
Thanks.
So,
Are the kids responding good to it?
yeah, so far, it's all new, but from what I've seen in the classroom, interactive, a lot of manipulative. Definitely what we need from out, especially in the primary grades.
Thank you. Mr. Winter?
In the past, especially at the September meeting, we talked about enrollments, and I went through a whole lineage of story of where I like to report enrollment, and this is the time to report it. It is mid-October where we have to report our enrollment to the state, and whether you do it at the beginning of the year, end of the year, you can compare apples to oranges, whatever you want to do, but as of mid-October, this is something that the principals and I monitor every month is the enrollment, so as of mid-October 23 to mid-October 24, we are up 46 students from last year. We know from last year, we gained a lot of students over the year. We've kind of hung on to a lot of those students, but that's kind of the official number that you can kind of take to the school board and let them know. We're not going to count heads for the first day and see how many kids are here and out and the ins and outs and who shows up. But by mid-October, you have that pretty black and white number that we are up 46 students from last year.
What's the attrition rate on that? So like at the peak, where were we, and then where does it kind of settle out at?
It fluctuates every year. Last year, we gained a lot over the year.
Right, but I mean, year to year. So, if the peak new students was during this time 75, we land on 46, what that attrition rate is, and then looking at, on a graph, is that increasing? Is it?
Well, that's not exactly the attrition rate because sometimes we graduate out higher numbers than what comes in.
Okay.
So those numbers that came in are making up for that loss of those larger classes that are graduating versus those that are coming in.
So this is, excuse me, is this K-12, 112,
Pre-K-12.
pre-K-12?
Yep.
Okay.
So really, the influx that we had last year, some of that happened before the middle of October.
Yeah, a few, but mostly afterwards. Yeah, mostly afterwards.
Yeah, we really didn't start getting them students until November.
But still, most of those kids are
Still here.
still here.
Yep. Didn't go anywhere.
I thought it was up in the 70s.
But remember,
So
this isn't those students, this is the district, and we're graduating out bigger classes than are what are coming in. So even with all that, we're still up 46 students from last year.
Yeah, doesn't mean if 75 came that many left. It could have been just graduates or other.
What was our
You know what I
graduating
mean?
class last year?
That's just a strict number. Year to year.
Right around 115, 117. We talked about it today. The senior class this year is 121, so right around there.
It wasn't terribly small.
Jump from anywhere from right around 100, 3-4 years back, whatever it was, to we'll have during class that's going to be close to 150.
Yeah.
Guessing the graduate number will be about 150.
So obviously everybody knows about the election that's coming up next week. From a superintendent point of view, my attention is most certainly towards our state legislature and what's going on within that, related to what I said earlier about this schools advocating for fair funding. Our Minnesota Association of School Administrators, MASA, also has their platform, and you can see them there. Number one is for funding, sustainable and predictable, fewer mandates. We know last year a lot of mandates came with the funding. Teacher recruitment and retention, what the state legislature can do to help us with that. Equity, which was part of the old acronym of Schools for Equity in Education, and special education to eliminate the cross subsidies. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of those things that were similar to the SAFE platform. And this will be the first year of the biennium, the legislation that we'll pay very close attention to as it moves along.
Questions or comments for Greg or any of the superintendents or any of the principals? Moving on to non-action items of which we don't have any.
On this one.
Item 9, motion to approve the consent agenda.
I so move.
And a second? Highlights.
Personnel, we're still hiring some people for community ed programs, some paras, some girls basketball coaches for the winter sports season. It's already upon us. We've had some paras that have left. That's why we need to hire some other paras. One highlight in there you'll see is one of our second grade teachers, Stephanie Salto, who's been here 13 years. She's put in a letter for retirement at the end of the year.
So the daily sub teacher, she's here. We'll plan to be here every day.
So we'll be here for the cover of maternity leave.
Thanks, we have folks.
Yes.
Long-term sub. Okay. So it's a full-time position.
Full-time position
Okay.
comes every day. Many places to put them.
Yeah, no, that's great.
That should cover the maternity leave.
She's doing too much.
Okay.
Besides.
That would be.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as listed, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Moving on to item 10, treasurer's report. A motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So move. I'll take it. I so move.
And a second.
Everything looks good. Everything is in line with what we've seen for the last couple of years. We had no unusual expenditures, nothing out of the ordinary.
Questions for Stephanie? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the treasurer's report, aye. All opposed, same sign. Moving on to action items. Motion to approve, accept donations as listed.
So move.
In a second.
I'll second it.
Any
That's some very good donations from some of our community groups on still some additional funding for the Harrisburg FFA, some funding for adult basic ed, some funding for the summer rec t-shirts, and the girls swimming, and a donation for the Dutchman, what's the P stand for? Performance Center. I was thinking of more specifically what Matt Tate does, but a donation for a speed training laser to monitor and benchmark.
Fast you go.
Well, how fast you do a number of different things.
Beyond expressing our appreciation, any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Pat?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved.
So-
Eric. Is
Eric.
here?
I
Is Eric?
We have, you already.
Eric. Sorry.
Wow.
You haven't said anything. That's why you were there. Eric, how would you like to vote? Yea or nay?
Yes.
Thank you.
I jumped over there.
So for our visitors in the crowd, the next section is approval of a number of policies. The district is governed by a long list of policies that need intermittent updating because things change, issues change. A lot of the updates and a lot of the policies and the updates come from our Minnesota State School Board Association. The process for approving a policy involves first the issue or the policy is reviewed by the policy committee, and then the policy is brought to board meetings, 2 consecutive board meetings to discuss it. The most lengthy discussion is usually the first discussion, and review what changes are being proposed. That's brought up again at a board meeting a second time, and then on the third review of the policy, we vote on it. So these 6 or 7 policies have already been brought up twice before. So today's is our opportunity to vote on it. And I don't think there have been any changes in any of the policies, so the conversation is fairly limited usually, but everybody can feel free to change that. First such policy is policy 205. Motion to approve policy 205 regarding open meetings and closed meetings.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Eric.
So, second it.
No changes. Any questions or comments or hesitations? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item C, a motion to approve policy 207 regarding public hearings.
I so move.
And a second.
Second.
No changes. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item D is a motion to approve policy 209 regarding code of ethics.
So move.
And a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, now we're going to
So far, so good.
no changes from previous. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. A motion to approve policy 212 regarding school board member development.
So moved.
And a second.
I'll second it.
There have been no changes since last review. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion to approve policy 506 regarding student discipline.
I so move.
And a second.
Second.
No changes from previous. Any questions or comments?
I just want to clarify, because I did get approached by a parent that was aware of the meeting that we had dealing with disciplinary. What we're approving today is all recommended by the Minnesota School Board. What we have a situation where possibly the disciplinary committee and the administration need to sit down and maybe streamline, or we've got to review the process of getting from point A to point B with an individual. This would have nothing to do with that.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that for the group.
Any other questions or clarifications?
I guess Randy, if you wanted to, the section that would be the section 4A, that you could refer them to, that would help them to understand if they needed proper documentation of where that would fall.
Correct. I just wanted to make sure that it was at least brought up
Absolutely.
and talked about, because there are some concerns that are as to how we went about the discipline. And this would have no bearing on that. We're following state, shouldn't say state law, Minnesota School Board Association policy, which is actually state sub-statutes.
Yes, that's pretty much word for word. It is word for word.
Okay.
We have modified.
I have other comments.
If there are no other questions, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion to approve policy 507 regarding corporal punishment.
So move.
And a second.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. You're good. You're good.
I'm glad.
Very good.
Randy.
Vote on it. Yes.
Yep, we did.
Moving on to item H, motion to approve policy 534, school meals policy.
I so moved.
And a second.
Okay.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We good?
For me, yes.
Moving on to item I. A motion to approve MOU regarding READ Act.
So move.
And a second?
Second.
Some background, please.
This is an issue that is contrary to the statement that it wasn't an issue until it was. It's never was an issue with our district. You've heard me speak over the years that we were, as a district, way ahead of the curve on all the components of the READ Act. We were already compensating teachers out of our professional development fund. Those things, those rates that we are compensating out of, we just wrote up into an MOU. The reason why we have to do an MOU because it's now required by the legislature. It became a requirement by the legislature because they provided funding for this. And we will then now take that funding under this MOU, which is basically the past practice of what we've done to pay for an additional training of new teachers or new things that come about.
For the most part, the teachers are trained already.
A lot of them are ready, but we have some new teachers. There's some other issues that have come up in terms of some of the college approved programs that we'll deal with that. But the good thing is that we will get the additional funding for this now. And I do want to state that MFT was very easy to work with them as they were very understanding and wasn't an issue.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the MOU as listed, regarding the READ Act? Aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Item J, a motion to approve Minnesota State High School League Resolution Form A.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
This is just the, excuse me, the annual resolution that allows us to apply for grants from the Minnesota State High School League in case our sports teams do go on to region and especially state participation. If we write the grants, we can use some of that money to offset those costs. And obviously they get the money from the game fees.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Moving on to item K, motion to approve Minnesota State High School League Resolution Form B.
So moved.
And a second?
A second.
Different than Form A, this allows our activities director to write grants for doing professional development for our coaches, our student athletes here within the district. And he has done this before, been getting some grants to have some of those speakers come in, and some of you might have been a part of those speakers, observed them in the past.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed, same list. Or all opposed, same sign.
You're reading ahead.
Yeah, I did, yeah, you're right. All in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Moving on to item L, motion to approve custodial seniority list.
So moved.
And a second,
I'll second it.
bookkeeping.
Yeah, just bookkeeping annual approval, and I may not have talked about in this past, but the importance of this is if we would ever do any of the seniority lists, if we would ever go into budget cutting mode, obviously those less senior would be cut. So that's why it's important for us to do this, have the groups review it, and then bring it to the board of approval, because not that it's gonna happen anytime soon, but if we do have to go through that budget cutting mode, we use the seniority list to project out what those costs or those cuts would be in those different areas.
And they've already reviewed these.
Yes, every group has been out, we sent it out to them, they reviewed it. Sometimes they send some different revision parts back to us, but yeah, they've all reviewed it.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Similar list, a motion to approve paraprofessional seniority list.
I so moved.
And a second?
Same thing.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Item N, motion to approve preschool teacher seniority list.
I so moved.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Same process, similarly approved. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Item O, motion to approve teacher seniority list.
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Approved by MFT, reviewed. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Item P, a motion to approve custodial contract.
I so moved.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Custodial, custodial negotiation committee came to an agreement with our custodial units. I included in the packet in your board notes, the red line and added contract so you can see the changes within the contract. I've since blacked that out and we have a copy signed by our custodial unit within the red folder.
questions or comments from the negotiating crew?
Very well.
They're wonderful to work with, grateful for all they do.
Thank you for serving on the committee. Hearing no questions, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. A motion to approve girls wrestling. This resolution would create a girls wrestling program for the district. This would be a co-op program between Melrose area schools and Sauk Center Public Schools. A motion, please,
I so move.
and a second.
Second?
The background?
Strengthen diversity in our opportunities for all our groups of students. This is a issue that is contrary to the earlier one. It is not an issue, but this program has grown immensely in the last couple of years. In the information that I shared out to the board, already this year, we're gonna have at least 15 to 20 girls participating from Melrose, along with at least 7 projected from Sauk Center. Because of the growth of this program, we already have 8 meets already scheduled. We anticipate, in working with the superintendent in Sauk Center, Don Peschel, he's on the Minnesota State High School League board. They are in discussions. This will become an official Minnesota State High School League sport, probably by the end of the year. As a district, I would act and recommend that we create this program because we already have it up and running, a lot of girls participating in it. And this is a good opportunity for our girls in the wintertime to have a sport to participate in. And it's done very well right now. I'm not just saying that because of one of the people that the coaches at the table. He's done an outstanding job at this program, and it's time to make it an official sport as we move on with Minnesota State High School League sanction at the end of the season.
So last year was just with the boys. Is that how?
Well, last year it
They
was,
had some
it was
girls.
transitioning.
Girls, but there was no official girls program.
Well, so there was a girls' state tournament during the boys' state tournament. So we were limited to how many meets we could have that just allowed girls.
Okay.
And we're still limited to that this year, but that number doubled because of the amount of girls in the state also doubled from the year previous. So they just keep moving it forward to, like Mr. Winter said, it's almost a guarantee in March when they vote on new sports, it'll probably go through just like boys volleyball did. It's just the progression.
So since we have these 8 and we'll have a separate team, can any of our girls still participate in meets with the boys?
So
They may
we-
not want to, but could you?
Yes, for sure,
Okay.
yep.
Okay,
So the only time that a girl has to make the decision is the section tournament. They cannot wrestle in the girls' section tournament if they plan to wrestle in the boys' section tournament.
okay.
So they will have to pick. Last year, there were 2 girls that chose to be in the boys' section. It was the first girl one last year, first ever that she actually won a match at the state tournament. She actually placed. She won 200 matches.
So then in March, when if it would become official, then the girls can't wrestle with the boys anymore. They wouldn't be able to, right? Because it would be an official girls sport.
Boys can't, yeah,
Okay,
I
well,
don't wanna get in, I don't know that.
But right now, it's really not
specifically.
official, right?
Yes,
It's still-
so right now, like, I can't go out and I can't, like, the boys have 16 competition dates that they can do. I can't do that as the girls' coach. I only get 8 dates.
Yeah.
But with the Minnesota State High School League.
Yeah.
Very well.
Maybe someone immaterial, do they automatically inherit the colors, the name, the logo?
Will they say defenders?
We have. Yeah,
So, well, once, or you would wait until it becomes official and then that stuff would all then have to come to the board.
we would just stick with the defenders like the boys, because that's what all of our uniform stuff is very specific to girls, obviously, and that's what it already is.
Because I know it had to be brought before
We brought the boys stuff.
the defenders, the colors and all that. So it would just be one time meeting.
Girls are kind of voting themselves into a sport.
Yeah, by participation.
Double the participation.
Yeah.
The other sport is doing that.
You said 28 total.
Yeah, close to 28.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
With the
we'll
two
see.
schools.
Right,
Yeah,
28.
17 here.
15 to 20 girls here, at least projecting 7 out of 7.
With it being a new sport, obviously, we have people that participated last year that don't think they'll do it this year, and then we have a lot of new people that have come up to me and talked to me and are willing to try it or hopefully try it, so.
Mr. Anderson's a good recruiter.
Are the weight classifications the same?
No, there's the same amount of weights, but they're different weights. So there's still there's 14 weight classes, but they're significantly different than the boys' weight classes.
And you have to have somebody in every class.
Well, it all depends, like tournaments, I'll put in the one nice thing right now is when we go to a girls tournament, there's really no difference between varsity, JV, junior high. We just throw them, if all the girls are at 130, I can throw 4 of them in. Where the boys side of things, I can only put 1 boy in. That's the one nice thing right now with the girls being new. I can put them all in one bracket, we try to separate them. Most of the time, they don't wrestle if they end up meeting, but.
I've heard that's one issue.
Well,
hard to
last
get
year we had a lot of girls in the 120 to 130 range. But, yep.
Great. Double participation.
That's a lot of pressure.
Questions or comments? All in favor of approving girls wrestling, aye. All opposed, same sign.
Congratulations.
What do you mean years ago?
No, thank you.
Kick her butt now. Motion for adjournment.
So
Randy, you're getting a second.
Figure it out. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed, same.